Hello there, and welcome back, all you beautiful people. Beautiful, lovely people. Hope y'all are having an amazing night. Sorry. Ooh. Hope y'all are having an amazing night. Hope y'all had a great day, great Friday, at least when I'm recording this. Who knows when it's going to be uploaded. Third time I'm recording this actually. Fourth time, if I'm being honest, just messed up a little bit and restarted. Um, First two times I recorded it, I'm gonna YouTube has something against me, all right? Because first time I recorded, I tried to upload it and tried to upload it overnight. Woke up in the morning, still wasn't uploaded. Left that all day. Eventually, it just had an error uploading. I had already deleted the video because my iPad had ran out of storage. So that was kind of annoying, I guess. And then the second time, I had to just try recording it directly on YouTube, and mid conversation, it just logs me out of the app. Just couldn't handle so much talking. But yeah, it's just gonna take today to get to know me a little bit better. I know a lot of people probably have questions or just don't know me too much and are just curious on why I'm trying to be a better person or just trying to spread so much positivity when there's so much negativity in the world. But yeah, today's plan actually, just want to put this out there. I was gonna go over veganism with a forensic teacher and head of the animal club at Raleigh High School, Miss Chares, and then I was gonna do also with Miss Hardgrove, which is an agriculture lady. Awesome lady. She's head of our AP Environmentalist class, I think. I don't want to be disrespectful and say that she's head without her being head, but I think she's head of that. And she's just a great teacher, man. And they're just, I would love to get their point of views on veganism and whether it helps animals or not. Just a bunch of questions or what they think the best way to love and care for an animal is, since they're both love animal lovers and creatures lovers. But hopefully I can get that up to y'all next Friday, or at least next Saturday. Just keep an eye out for that if you want to watch that. Besides that, Monday I am planning on getting Dr. Bradshaw on here. You know, he's he has a doctor's, I think, in sociology, and I forgot what else. Head of the African American Study and African Americans club at Raleigh High School. Just very woke man, very cool guy. And we're just gonna go over a bit of systematic suppression and just like what it is, and essentially how, as a minority, you can break free from that cycle. But yeah, stay tuned for these topics. I'm excited about them, and I feel like I'm gonna get a great talk out of these people. I say these days, by the way, because I don't know if I'm gonna upload the video that day. It's just the day I'm gonna be recording them. But besides that, let's just jump into it, man. I come from a two-parent household. Had both my parents first generation immigrants. I have three sisters, one brother. Brother wasn't around much as a child. Sisters kind of raised me for the majority because my parents were always at work or doing something, and I kind of understood that because life happens. But yeah, I had a very loving home with three sisters. Esma's the oldest, Brenda's the middle child, then Frances is the youngest. All three are doing amazing lives, amazing things in life, and have always pushed me to be a better person, a better version of myself. Big reason of why I'm here, talking to people and just trying to be a better person and having conversations with people. But yeah, let's jump into it, man. So growing up, I was always a bit of a rough kid, rough around the edges, bit of a pain freak, and I guess I liked violence. But I didn't necessarily like violence. I just like the thrill of fighting someone, I guess. And funny story about this actually was one time we were at my brother-in-law's house, and we were hanging outside with his friends, Marky, Ruben, and I forgot who else. I think Albert and some other people. These names are irrelevant to y'all. But I remember Ruben had asked his little brother to come outside, and his brother came outside. His name was Chucky at the time, I think. And he just looks at me and he's like, "Hey, yo," they call me Jesus, by the way, which I don't want to offend anyone out there with them. I just think that as a Hispanic, you get so used to hearing Jesus that sometimes it's nice to say something different or hear something different. So I was known as, they called me Jesus as a kid. And I'm like, "Yo, Chucky, come be Jesus' little ass." And this little, kid, he was kind of short for a first grader. I was in like pre-K at the time, but I think he was a little shorter than me. just walks up to me and starts pounding on me. And I'm like, what the frick, man? Like, beating me up. and afterwards he just stops and, goes back inside like nothing happened. I'm like, what just happened? And like, you just got beat up, man. And I remember I was like, oh wow, like I gotta get ready for next time. And I asked the middle schooler there to grab me by the arms and kind of like spar with me. And I think he swung me around the arm, around the yard a little bit, and we like played fall a little bit. But by the time I got back to my brother-in-law's house, I had like a bloody nose. I looked all beat up, and my sister was like, "What the hell happened to you?" And I told her, I'm like, "Yeah, like he came outside, and they told him to beat me up, and he just started beating me up." And my sister was like, "Next time you see him, you walk up to him, and you just sock him right in the face." And I took that to heart. Genuinely took it to heart. Biggest mistake was telling her friends that I took it to heart, because as high schoolers that wanted to see two little kids fight, they had the idea to because I told them I was serious. They took me over to Ruben's house again, and they told me knock on the door. And so what I did is I knocked on the door, and this little kid Chucky, right, he opens the door, he's just staring at me, and I just sock him in the face, and he eats it. He just takes the hit and looks at me weird, and he's like, walks back inside, right, holding his nose like, what just happened? And he's just sitting there playing on his little Xbox, and I'm confused because I'm like, is that it? Is that really what I walked over here and did all that for? So afterwards, I walked inside his house, and he's just sitting there playing his Xbox, and I just jump on top and start pounding on him because I thought that was the right thing to do. And his brother walks outside the room, and he's like Jesus, what the fuck are you doing? Grabs me, throws me off of him. And afterwards I leave, and he goes over to my brother-in-law's house, telling my sister I'm mad. He's like, if I ever see your little brother beating on my little brother again, I'm gonna beat his ass. And I was like, oh wow, man, like that was not. I don't want to get beat up by this high schooler, man. That was kind of scary. But yeah, that's just a funny story to show the kind of child I was. Besides that, I was a pretty big kid. I had been really into Big Red, and I'd been really into Big Red and, chugging down hot dogs and eating burgers, really unhealthy life. But, I was happy. And I remember, one time as a child, I drank 6 to 8 Big Reds. And I walked up to my sister's friends and I'm like, guess what? And she was like, what? And I was like, I drank. Guess how many Big Reds I drank today? She's like, how many? I said, 6. And she's like, that's not good for you. I'm like, I drank 6 though. Because I was proud of that. That was me as a kid. But going into like first grade, my family saw that I was unhealthy, and they realized that I was kind of a big child. Also, always kind of had a little bit of an anger issue, but my sisters always helped me work through that. Thankful to them because otherwise, I could have turned out to be a completely different person. But they always helped me work through that, and they always helped me get through my anger issues. Whenever I lashed out as a kid. But my sister eventually saw that as an opportunity to put it into positive light, and she signed me up for football. And first it was just flag football, wasn't much, but it was just a start though. And from there I got really into football and I guess sports. But I was a big kid and I hated being the last person. Eventually I got to Pee Wee football, and whenever we got to Pee Wee football, that's when people start getting serious about football, and it's like, even though it's third graders, like, dude, you're going to come out here and you're going to run. I'm going to work you. You're going to be the best football player you ever wanted to be. And at first, I was at the very back of the pack, trying to keep up with the other kids when we ran laps and all that. But this is where my motivation started, This is where I started wanting to lose weight and started wanting to be a faster kid. And I wasn't, I wasn't ever in the front, but I always tried my hardest at least to be in the front, and I think that's why I'm the person I am today. But I had done football on and off through middle school. By the time I got into like 4th grade, I met my childhood long best friend, Lonzo, if you're out there, brother for life. This guy's genuinely genius and smartest guys I know. He was, I think, in 7th grade, going into 6th or 7th grade when I met him. I was going into like 5th grade, I think. He's 3 years older than me, and if you do math, it doesn't add up right. But he told me the reasons that he didn't go to or that he had an extra year of high school, which are really dumb reasons because he's genuinely one of the smartest guys I know. whenever we were in middle school, he was already trying to stop drinking plastic water bottles and all that. And he called himself Nature Boy, man. Like, as a middle schooler, to call yourself Nature Boy, you have to be doing something right. You have to know something. He needs to do some wild stuff, man. I love that guy. I'll have to get him on here. But, get low, Alonzo. Yeah. We met in 4th grade, and this is how our childhood went. It's type of stuff that we used to do. He had a skateboard and I had a bike, and we had a really big road, down the road from here. And I used to ride my bike down the road, and he used to grab the on a skateboard. He used to grab the back of my bike and ride down the road. We see how fast we used to go. And I used to play football and basketball with his family. There are 2 other kids named Titan and Jalen that lived at this roundabout that we have by my house, which were his younger brother's nanos. Like, they were kind of his little followers, and they kind of shadowed him. If he pressed somebody, they press him too. If he says something, they say it too. They were his little sidemen. But going into 5th grade, eventually, Alonzo, being the middle school that he was, he started getting tired, and he used to come home and just fall asleep, or not be able to hang out with me. And I used to still want to hang out with somebody, and used to go over there all the time. So I started hanging out with his brother Nano more. And I remember one time I was hanging out with them outside of their house, and their little brother Isaac had kicked a soccer ball in my head. Hit me pretty hard, and I was pretty mad about it. So I tried to fight him about it. And I remember Nando, has been the older brother instincts, of course, walks up, he's like, you can try to mess with my little brother, you're going to try to mess with me, right? And so kind of my bullying starts, because they were my first bullies. From there, anytime I would see them, I'd throw a ball at them, because, I was mad about that, and I was like, I'm going to get my get back one way or another. And I was an annoying kid. To this day, I'm an annoying person. Just know if I annoy you, it's because I like you. But, where I feel that comfortable with you doesn't mean I don't like you if I don't annoy you. It just means I feel very, very comfortable with you. But yeah, I used to annoy them, and I used to just walk by and, anytime I could, I'd try to hit them with a soccer ball, basketball, anything I could to get my get back. And eventually, this got to the point where they just wanted to fight me, and they just wanted to beat me up for a good reason. But I didn't realize this at the time, and eventually I separated myself. They're kind of picking on me continuously, even though I left them alone. And it was just, not a fun situation as a kid. But what ends up ending this, actually, is they had this other friend that lived across or on the next street over, named Clayton. And for whatever reason, this little, middle schooler had a BB gun, and his parents just let him walk around with a BB gun. So, of course, he walks up over there. It wasn't even a BB gun, it was an airsoft gun. And, of course, he's showing it off to them, and it's like, just shooting it around outside. And I wasn't hanging out with them. I tried to separate myself or avoid them. But at the time, sorry, my girlfriend. Oh, sorry, she texted me. But at the time, I was riding my bike around, and I remember this kid, for whatever reason, pointed the BB gun at me and shot me in the back. I was riding by them. I always love riding my bike. I have this little boo-boo right here, all this. If you've seen it in person, it's pretty bad. But, yeah, from riding a bike, I've always kind of just been a very bike-riding person. Sorry, my girlfriend's texting me right now. She'll understand. Hopefully I can finish this and then call her afterwards. But, yeah, I was riding my bike one day just listening to music, doing laps. And they point the gun at the back of my back and just, shoot me. And I had fallen forward. I fell forward. And I remember my first thought and my biggest fear was the fact that there was a stump that was probably this tall that had like a stick the whole thing was this tall, but the shrub or the stump itself was like this, and it had like a stick sticking out that was like maybe that tall in general. And I had landed like over here, and it was over here. And I remember I look over and I think like, man, if I would have landed on top of that, I would have died. Like, that thing would have impaled my brain. And, I go home crying, tell my parents all this. Parents eventually call the cops. Sorry if I don't seem like I'm really into it. Kind of gone through this already. But yeah, my parents eventually call the cops. Cops show up to his house. And, cops didn't essentially care about it. They kind of, They kind of showed up to his house, got onto him, told him, don't shoot other kids with BB guns, which I feel like should be common sense. Got onto his parents about it a little bit, but they couldn't take anything away. They couldn't, search his house for a warrant. They did everything they could. So I was just happy about that. At least this kid knew better than to shoot me with a BB gun. At least the other kids knew better than to, shoot me with a BB gun, because I would call the cops. I am a snitch. The law will protect me. I don't have to, put my hands up. But, yeah, I was happy about that. And from here, the bullying kind of dies down, and, I don't have to, or the other kids kind of apologize to me and say sorry. They kind of accept me back into their friend group, and I was cool with it. I didn't apologize for blowing the walls, because I guess I'd forgotten about that's where it all started when I was a child. But they kind of did the little, it was his idea, thingy. But I didn't care. I was happy. I got in my friend group back. And from here, we just, had a childhood. We did dumb things outside of school. We used to have, like, little family get-together. Somebody would buy wings from the gas station. Someone's mom would make food. I think I brought ice cones one time, or ice cone maker. And we were, like, making chamoy ice cones or something like that. And, yeah, we just had a great childhood. We played football, basketball, just play neighborhood hide and seek. We had a childhood. A lot of the kids nowadays are just attached to their phones, or they're playing on their phone. No, man, we used to go outside. No, I had a phone by 5th grade, but I didn't use it. I used it to listen to music, which, by the way, my music at the time was pop. I did like Taylor Swift. I was a Swiftie at the time. But, yeah, I remember they made fun of me because of this, and I was really into pop, but they made fun of me because of this, and so I kind of stopped listening to that, And that's when I first heard XXXTentacion. First song that they introduced me by him was Take a Step Back, which is, featuring Ski Mask. And then from there, I kind of just got really into X, Throughout middle school, X was my guy, Only rapper I listened to, only guy I would listen to. That was my music, I guess. Anytime I feel stressed, I listen to other stuff like, TK, Offset, trap rap. What middle schoolers would listen to and listen to today. But one guy above all of them was XXXTentacion, man. Rest in peace. That guy, he's a big part of who I am today, man. And, yeah, that's who I grew up around, what we grew up doing. Going into, it's funny, I'm going to say this real quick, because hopefully I have that photo and I'll be able to post it. But for my 5th grade graduation, I had, like, a black eye the size of a baseball. And it was funny because we were actually boxing one time in their room. And it was me and their younger brother, Isaac, which was like 2 years younger than me, but I was fat and chubby and unathletic. And I remember that I didn't know the rules of boxing, so I wasn't sure if we were doing boxing or MMA, and he had to, like, wrap me like this. And I, like, pushed him off me and was, like, trying to talk to his brother, Nano, because he was the ref at the time. And as I turned around and talked to him, boom, kid just socked me in the face. Had a black eye here for for my 5th grade graduation. If you look at all my photos close enough, you can see a, good little purple spot right there. But yeah, I'll see if I can post that on, this page's Instagram. By the way, if you don't know about it, it's called Jesus Impals with an H. It's on Instagram. I'll try to post little funny things or little bloopers or just things that, can get you into the video or can entertain you or can show you the baseline of what the post today was about or whatever day it's posted on was about. But, yeah, going into 6th grade, I had gotten really into basketball. Remember, my parents signed me up for the rec league at the Raleigh Rec Center, and my friend Alonzo had gotten me, like, really into basketball. We were, playing daily, and I got to a point where, like, I had played the rec league, and I knew I liked it. I loved basketball. Basketball was my first love, if I'm being honest. And I just wanted to get better at it. I was never good at it. Was never good at hand-eye coordination or shooting, but I was always your hustle man. I played small forward because I wasn't tall, but I wasn't short. I was a good, defender and a good, role player. But yeah, man. Honestly, that's my basketball career throughout high school, man. I've always just been a really good role player. I realized that if I play with star players or star people, then I kind of naturally play to their abilities. Like, I'm not gonna be the role player on or star player on any team that already has one. I'm gonna be my role player and I'm gonna do my part. But hey, what I find. Or I'll get into that right now. But, yeah, going through 6th grade, I got really into basketball. Got really into basketball shoes where I started, my favorite thing to do was get them off a goat. And anything cheap, which cheap at the time was like $100 or $120. I don't know how much basketball shoes are nowadays. I wouldn't pay more than $50 for a pair of shoes, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't try to pay more than $50 for a pair of shoes unless it's like something that I really like. Favorite place to shop right now is Ross, by the way. If you want to get some good stuff, go to Ross. But yeah, I was really into basketball shoes. I started wearing them to school eventually the second semester, and because I got out of my comfort zone in middle school, and I guess I started feeling comfortable in the environment. And this is when the popular kids I guess started to notice me because they were like, "Hey man, you got cool basketball shoes," and they were kind of being nice to me. But I was never really into the popularity thing. I always didn't like the way the popular kids act, and I always thought that they were kind of dicks most of the time, where they had big egos. So I kind of like hanging out with B teamers or second string kids because they were fun, man. They were cool people. They were the people I liked hanging out with. But yeah, I remember they started liking me, and they started kind of accepting me. And at first I fed into that, but eventually I'm glad I pushed away from that. But yeah, that was my 6th grade year. Going into 7th grade, this is where the competitive nature, and I guess where my depression at Jackson really starts. I missed one key part about Jackson. It's all the way across Garland from Rowlett, and I was the last bus stop, but I still had to wake up at 7:30 to be at my bus stop by 8:10 to be at school on time, like barely on time, like getting there as the bells ring. And to me, 7:30 is high school time, or was high school time at the time. I'm like, high schoolers are waking up at 7:30. I'm in middle school. I shouldn't be waking up at 7:30. Like, that's wrong. And I was I'm not a punctual person. If you know me, for me, within the minute is on time. If you want me to be, on time. If it's somewhere that I'm driving, it's within 5 minutes. And if it's something that you just tell me to be there, or you tell me that's time, just expect me to be there, just within 15 to 30 minutes. But yeah, no, I hated the fact that I had to wake up early, and I hated the fact that I didn't get home till 5:30. School ended at 4, and I didn't get home till 5:30. And, essentially made school 2 extra hours. I felt like I was going for 10 hours instead of 8 hours, and this began to feed into my first time experiencing depression. 6th grade was actually the second semester of 6th grade was the first time I'd fallen asleep in a class. It was science at the time. It's not that I had a bad teacher. He just ruled with an iron fist. And, that didn't benefit to me as a middle schooler, and I think it benefits to most middle schoolers. And plus, I was tired, man. Like, I woke up early. I, had to deal with school and all that. It's just a rough time, man. But, yeah, first time I experienced falling asleep in school. And coming around to 7th grade, there are a lot of, key parts that I'm missing. It's just the gist of it. I had my best friend at the time was Asher Joseph. Really cool Indian guy. He taught me a couple cuss words in Hindi. I'm going to try to get him on here. Hopefully he doesn't say anything out of pocket because he says some out of pocket stuff. That's how our first interaction was made. I put in some girls in because at the time they were selling chocolate bars, and if you know anything about tinfoil and being a middle schooler, you like to put them in your teeth. But yeah, here's something really out of pocket, and I kind of made fun of him for it. Kind of kept messing with him, and he got he was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Eventually he gave me half his bag of chips and was like, "I'm Asher, I'm Jesus," and we just started hanging out, man. Cool guy. But yeah, this is where the competitive nature came in, and this is where I started playing football, right? In middle school, I had originally tried out to be quarterback, but we had a player, God's Power. God gifted at football, amazing guy. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if I've already gone over this video. last two videos are kind of colliding since I, the other one stopped and I just got right back into it. But God's Power, he has God-given talent in football. I'd love to get that guy on here and just hear about his last couple of years because that guy's a cool guy, and he's going places. But yeah, GP, that's what we called him. He was our quarterback, and I understood that our football team was going to be based around him, and I was going to be able to be quarterback. But they eventually put me at fullback because I was an undersized lineman, but I was big enough to. I wasn't small enough to be anything else but a fullback, and I was just really good at blocking and hitting people. I wasn't good at hand-eye coordination or running the ball or anything like that. But if it came up to blocking somebody, I could do that. And so yes. So, come around football season, I was playing middle linebacker, fullback. I had started losing weight, which, by the way, that started like as a child because people used to always tell me I was a little bit of a big kid. But around fourth grade, I like had the mindset of I'm not gonna be a big kid forever. Like I want to get out of this. I want to start working out, and that's when I started working out, I guess. But yeah, I was a fullback, starting to lose weight. Was an 18 starter. Was good at. I did my role. I was good at what I did. Was really good at hitting people. Good at if I had to get a tackle, if I saw an opportunity to get a tackle, I popped that person. I got popped a couple of times though. I know one time I got speared. Like guys should have picked me up and speared me into the ground, and so I wanted to get my get back, and I tried to do the same thing back, and the ref wouldn't let us do it anymore. Like I tried to pick him up, and I had him on my shoulders, I think, or I got him off the ground, and the ref was like, "Hey, put him down, put him down, put him down." But that's I guess the ref was right. I didn't want to hurt a kid, but yeah, that's the kind of kid I was. But this is where I'm trying to collect my thoughts a little bit. This is where my depression kind of starts. There's this kid at school, best basketball player at the school. His name was Trey. And I remember one day we were working out in football, just doing weight. I think it might have been off season or football. It might have been off season because at that point I was already working out pretty hard in basketball, and that was what I did every single day after school, play basketball. And I remember he walks up to me and he looks at me and he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, why are you so bad at basketball if you work out every single day?" And I was just like honestly in my head I was like, what the fuck? Like, you don't just tell someone that. And it really did hurt my feelings because I guess he was right. I wasn't good at basketball. I was working my hardest, but it wasn't in God's book for me. God didn't have a plan for me to be the first Mexican in the NBA Hall of Fame. That used to be my dream. But hey, I'm gonna find my path, or I found my path and my passion, and it's just helping people whichever way I can. But yeah. So this is where the competitive nature started, and a couple other comments from people kind of put me in a bad state. I didn't like going to school after that. I didn't think it was a good environment. One time in 7th grade I got my shoes stolen, but I kind of let it go because I'm like, their shoes, I'll get them back. It was sad because it was a birthday present from my sister. They were Nike Bonafides. They were like really weird alien looking ones, and it was just weird because I wasn't mad about it, but shoes are gone. But I was hurt, man, because they were a present, man, and I felt disappointed in the fact that I had lost them because gift from my sister. And, I value whatever anybody gives me, no matter what it is. But yeah, we had gone into basketball season, and another story about the kind of person that I am. So I think the best way I can show y'all the kind of person I am, or I think it's just by simply telling y'all about experiences I had. In 6th grade, I was gonna fail English, first semester of English, and if you fail, no pass, no play. And I remember because of this, I had worked my ass off at basketball practice. To the point we had 2 sets of practice. We had skills, which was in the morning before school, and then once school started, we'd go to the back gym to scrimmaging. And I worked my ass off in the first part of skills. And honestly, by the time we went into the locker room, I had I had passed out, man. We were doing left hand layups, right hand layups. We were running, and I just gave it my all that day to the point where by the end of the first half of practice, I went in there, I sat back, and I put my head back. Fell asleep for 5 minutes, man. People were walking by me "Yo, you good?" "Hey, man, are you okay, man? You need to go to the nurses?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm just really tired." But it's because I was scared that I was going to get kicked off the basketball team, and that was going to be my last time, playing middle school basketball. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get that much playing time. I guess my coach expected more out of me as a power forward. But I didn't like being a power forward. I didn't think I was tall enough, and I knew I wasn't going to grow. I wanted to be a guard, and so I didn't put that much effort into that. But I guess he expected more of me out of that. But, yeah, I worked my ass off, and then we go into the second half of practice, and it was to the point where I couldn't even play defense, man. I would have little short bursts of energy where I'd guard up, and then I'd be dribbling the ball up the court, and I'd just be so tired of that. I'd dribble it to half court and kick it out. I'm like, yeah, man, I can't do that. And from here, I liked parts of Jackson, but I didn't really like the school as a whole. You know, always said the main reasons were really just because waking up. And I'm gonna be honest, if I look back at it, that's probably the main reason. You know, if it was like Coil, where it would have been down the road and I could have gotten up at 8:30 and be to school on time. See, that's an hour difference. That's about 50 minutes of difference between the time that I had to get up at Jackson and at Coil. That's why I transferred mainly. And yeah, so it's my first time experiencing depression. And the reason I say I experienced depression is because I just didn't like going to that school. I hated every morning waking up, and I hated every morning that I'd get there, and it got to the point like I just didn't want to be there. Which is middle school for most, but it's like just the fact that I had to wake up that early too didn't help. And I was excited because I thought I was going to be learning some, advanced stuff. And eventually I do get into Algebra 1, but even then I didn't want to be in Algebra 1. You know, it's my own fault. I was my own worst enemy in that class because I could have learned it. Towards the end of the year, I started talking to the smarter kids and started hanging around them. And I started getting enough confidence to ask questions about the math homework. And they would explain it to me, and I'd be like, I get it. And they'd be like, yeah, man, like, you haven't been paying attention all year, but you can do it if you want to. And I was like, honestly, this is what I told them. I was like, what the fuck, man? I can do algebra? And they're like, yeah, man, you just have to pay attention in class. And I was like, no, man. I just didn't want to pay attention in class. I had a great teacher, Miss Holkowitz. She didn't want to fail me. She expected more out of me, and she definitely had the right to expect more out of me. But, yeah, towards the end of the year, we started doing, this is where I realized that, this is where I like to look back at my life and I like to see where God has, blessed my life and where he has guided my life and shown me my strengths and weaknesses. Because what I realized is after off season, like I said, I didn't like playing on the team with all the star players. I got pretty good after off season. I was, hitting shots, I had confidence because I realized I have stage fright. I have anxiety when it comes up to playing in front of people, and that's why I've always been bad. I could play at the rec league, I could play, off court, because that's easy. Nobody's watching you. But as soon as people are watching you, that's when it gets hard. But we were doing off-season scrimmages, and the best kids used to want to pick me up, but I used to pick up the B team starters because they were all my homies. James, Brian, who else? Man, Ifosa. I fucking love Ifosa. I'm gonna have to get. Sorry, pardon my language, but I'm gonna have to get Ifosa on here. Let's see who else. Just a bunch of B team kids that weren't bad, but just weren't the best at basketball. And I guess I liked the fact that I had chemistry with them. And whenever we get on the court, if you know anything about playing basketball, if you got chemistry, y'all are getting buckets. And we used to beat the 8-team starters, like a full lineup of 8-team starters versus us, and we used to cook them, man. I used to come off the screen, look for the wide open pass, kick down, wide open, paint shot. And my favorite shot was honestly at the time was a deep mid range. My favorite move was to come off the screen, pull up, coop. That was my jumper. But yeah, I was into basketball. This is where I realized that I kind of play better around people that help each other out. I'm not a star player, and I don't play around star players. I play around role players that work as a team and that make the team better. Like my ideal basketball team would be like the 2016 Warriors, or I think the San Antonio Spurs last year, a little bit like the Houston Rockets, or anybody can get a bucket, anybody can score, but it's not about getting a bucket. It's about playing team basketball. That's I guess my best basketball, or where I play my best. But I say this because I remember one time we were doing scrimmages, and I had pulled it from deep, man. It was a tie game. No, I think we were down by 2, and we needed 3 to win. My teammates weren't getting open. I was getting double teamed. I was essentially like from college range back here, and I just grab it, chunk it up. Miracle of God. Perfect swish at the buzzer. Remember, I had fallen on the ground, and Trey and Jaden were guarding me at the time. They weren't even mad about the fact that I had hit the shot. They jumped on top of me and started slapping me, just pushing me around. They're like, because I made the shot, and we were both. Everybody was surprised that I hit that shot because that was a crazy shot to hit. But yeah, I just say I think I play best around people that aren't trying to do their best or trying to do the team's best, I guess. But yeah, going into 7th grade, I enjoyed parts of school, didn't enjoy all of it. Eventually, I convinced my parents to transfer me over to Coil. I just thought it'd be a lot easier, and I didn't like the fact that math was hard for me. I guess I didn't like challenges at the time. I was soft and cradled. But by the time I got to Coil, I was taking geometry as an 8th grader, which it's funny because I didn't even learn Algebra 1, if I'm being honest. Like, if you gave me simple Algebra 1, I probably would be able to figure out after like 30 minutes, but it would take me 30 minutes to figure out what each thing would be because I don't remember. I didn't pay attention in class. I didn't watch them Khan Academy videos, man. then things were not my strong suit. But it's just that guy's voice is so monotone. It's always down here, and he's always just, teaching people. And it's like, grab my attention, man. If you're going to be teaching me something, be happy about it. Be active about it. That's my advice, at least. But, yeah, the teachers had all kind of given me, or the math teacher at Chloe had given me praise. And the counselor was trying to, she thought I was a smart kid, which I guess I am and I was. I'm kind of a nerd. But I didn't like being a smart kid because I guess I like taking the easy way out sometimes. So they were trying to set up the schedule around me, and they didn't have any geometry classes at Coil, but I couldn't take Algebra 1 since I had passed the ELC for that. And they're like, yeah, man, you're going to have to, take geometry. And so what they ended up doing was I would go on B days to geometry, and I would miss half of first period. Then my mom would pick me up and take me back to Coil, and I would, be in half of art for that. Which, by the way, Mr. Thomas, I think that's his name. If you're still teaching art, man, no offense to you, man, but take it a little easier, man. He kind of ruined art for me because he graded my stuff off of how good it was. And I remember, sometimes I didn't try art, but whenever I did try and it sucked, I kind of felt bad whenever he graded poorly because, I tried at least. But, and I've never been the best at being an artistic person. I'm just starting to get better at my arts and crafts because following my passions and learning my passions. I think if you want to be good at something, you have to be passionate about it in anything. And I'm finally starting to find my passions. By the way, my biggest passion is nature. If y'all had, any questions or curious on that. But yeah, they have that weird schedule where I met Mr. Marsh. First time I experienced a high school teacher, my opinion, one of the greatest high school teachers ever. Because he understands high schoolers better, that he's just a really chill and monotone dude. And, sorry, excuse me, I ate watermelon earlier and I guess indigestion. But he was just a really cool dude and chill dude. I remember kids used to cuss in his class, or used to, just ask him, like, why don't you get mad when we cuss and when we say something, like, out of line? He's like, you're a child. This was literally his approach to it. He's like, you're a kid, man. Like, I have no reason to get mad at you. I have no reason to, be upset with you. I'm just out here to teach on, do my hardest at that. Y'all are going to listen. Y'all are going to listen. Y'all aren't. It's like, I can't do anything to make y'all learn this. And I just think that mindset it's a good mindset to have with high schoolers. It's like, teach to the ones that want to learn it. And you need to understand that the ones that don't want to learn it aren't going to learn it. They're just going to disturb the classroom and do issues. And I think the sad part is a lot of times it tends to be because they have issues at home, or they have some form of outer issue, like a relationship or something like that, that it's just bringing them a lot of negative feelings or depression, anxiety, or anything like that, that just doesn't make them want to focus in school. Like, if everybody was happy at all times, everybody would be happy to learn, especially if it's something that they're passionate about. Like, if I look at my classes, like, this year, I built my schedule around what I was interested in, and I guess, a lot of kids are doing that now, because a lot of people in my classes, they love that class. They love being there. They love listening to the professor or to the teacher, and, I think that's how school should be, man. But, yeah, Mr. Marsh, he got me back excited about math. I love geometry, man. Like, geometry was so easy to me. It was just plugging in, especially in the way that he taught. He didn't teach it too fast. He taught it step by step, because I was in regular high school math, and he taught it step by step. He'd take a whole class period to give us a lesson. Then he'd give us an assignment on that lesson, and he'd give us like 30 minutes to do that assignment. And I'd do as much as I could, and and whatever I could do, I'd give it to him, and he'd tell you if you got it right, give it back to you. If you got it wrong, or no, if you got it right, you take it for 100. If you got it wrong, you give it back to you with whatever you got wrong. Give you another try. If you get it wrong again, he try to help you explain. He try to explain what you do wrong and see if you can figure it out. But he essentially would, try to make you figure it out yourself. and it fed very well into my education. I got a 96 at the end of geometry, which I like to mention it was the COVID year, but 96, I'm still proud of that. Yeah, I also experienced, I like to say second heartbreak, because my first one I was really into this girl that wasn't into me. I guess she wasn't feeling me, wasn't her type, but in middle school. But second one was this girl that was on and off with her boyfriend. It was a middle school relationship. But I like to think I grew a lot from it as a middle schooler. That can grow from a middle school relationship. At least I've always tried to, I guess get smarter from whatever happens to me. But yeah, I also dealt with that for the first time. Man, my friend Carlos, I'm gonna have to get Carlos on here. If there's one thing I can tell you about Carlos, he is ride or die, man. Like, if I were gonna go to war with somebody, I'd look at Carlos and be like, "Let's go, man. We're going to war." And he'd be like, "All right." Because I was, like I said, an overweight kid, but whenever I went into middle school, 8th grade, I had lost weight for the first time. I was looking a bit skinny, and girls were starting to notice me for the first time, right? Well, I remember one time this girl was trying to hit me up, and she trying to get straight to the point, like, "Oh, do you think I'm cute?" and all that. And I'm gonna lie, coming from a fat person that got skinny, I took offense to this. I'm like, "You only like me for my looks, man? Like, I'm a pretty cool person. You should get to know me before you start hitting on me like that." Like, I find that disrespectful, man. And I told her, I should have told her that. After I kind of, like, stopped talking to her. And her friends started blowing me up after that. Like, "Oh, you hurt her feelings. Oh, I don't know what you said to her, but she's in a really bad place. Oh, she was really into you or whatever." But I was like, "No, man, she's just into me for my looks." And I had told Carlos this. Somewhere Carlos got my phone, texted them, and I'm going to tell you word for word. He said, "Hey, yo, bitches." I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is what Carlos said word for word. He said, "Hey, yo, bitches. Leave my homeboy Jesus alone, or I'm going to beat y'all's ass." I'm not even kidding. He said that to a girl. And I was like, "Yo, man, you can't say stuff like that. Like, don't be saying stuff in my name like that. Like, you can't be texting other people from my phone and, tell them stuff like that." And he was like, "All right, I'll text him through my Instagram." And he did. This is why I tell you, Carlos is ride or die, man. Like, that man is the homie. But, yeah, I fucking love Carlos. I met Carlos in 6th grade. Let's see, that whole little thing with that girl went down that eventually made me stop talking to certain people and separate myself because I felt bad for whatever reason. What happened was that we were on and off, and I was kind of into her, but she wasn't trying to date me because she was dealing with her ex and dealing with that. She had her own problems, I guess, going on. But I guess I was just trying to be my best person because it's weird. This is the first time I realized that I just like helping people because whenever we started dating, I felt complete for the first time. I've always, I guess, looked for love, and it's my first time experiencing it from, someone other than family. And so I felt complete. And I remember I was, like, talking to her, and she's like, and I was like, "I don't know what to do now." And she's like, "Just be yourself." And I'm like, "I don't know who myself is now, man. Like, I am myself, man. Like, I'm whole. Like, I've never been in a relationship. I don't know what to do." And she was like, "Well, what do you like doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. I guess I just like helping people." And this is why I started getting into psychology too, because I was always curious on the mind and why people think the way that they think. Which, come to find out, human nature is a very crazy concept. We could have a whole hour-long discussion about that a different day. But yeah, I was into this girl, didn't work out, and what had happened was that one day I thought I was gonna start dating her, so we were gonna go official because it's a middle school relationship on Monday. I was gonna buy chocolates, to be a best boyfriend I could because I'd grown up around sisters and I always knew what being a boyfriend kind of was, but I always wanted to be the best boyfriend. And I hope I'm doing the best. I have a girlfriend, by the way. If ladies you're watching out there, stop. Yeah, I have a girlfriend. But yeah, man. I remember what had happened was that over the weekend, I had started talking to her. We were getting close to each other. No, it wasn't in the span of 2 months, but over a certain weekend, I thought she was finally gonna we were gonna start dating, right? And what had happened was by that Monday, I had told this other girl that was into me, by the way. I'm pretty sure she was into me. I don't want to speak for her, but I think she was. About it, and she walked up and she tells another girl, and I hear this other girl, no way he's dating her. No way he's dating her. And then they look over and we're like, are you? Her name was Lexi, by the way. They're like, are you dating Lexi? And that morning I had gotten a text from her saying that we weren't dating, that she was still figuring out her stuff with her ex. And I was like, honestly, I almost started crying. I was like, no. I think it's funny looking back at it. I almost started crying because of that. But, yeah, I was hurt, man. I was like, no, man. And I kind of just, like, tried to brush it off and move past it. But I remember, it was awkward sitting at lunch with them because, it was her, then these two other girls that were her friends, and then it was me, Adonis, Braulio. I'd love to get this group again. I'm going to have to try to reach out to them. But me, Adonis, Braulio, and then what else? And Carlos. And I remember Carlos was always just a very outspoken person. If he had something on his mind, he'd say it. Sorry, the dog's right here. He likes being in the videos, I guess. Likes getting love. But I just don't like petting him too much because he kind of stinks. I don't feel like washing him because I'm lazy. Last time I showered him, he still stunk. I'm going to have to give you a little bit of love in there. I'm going to ask you to go away, okay? Okay. But, yeah, Carlos has always... Nope. Now you're getting too much on me. Carlos has always been a very outspoken person. And I forgot what he was... He was having a conversation with someone, and I said something that pissed him off. Or I did something that pissed him off, like I grabbed his milk or something. And he looked at me and he said, shut the fuck up, Jesus. This is why you're mad that Lexi still in love with her ex, Alexis. And I was like... And I just looked at him and I was like, whoa, man. And I look over at her and I could tell that this made her uncomfortable. And after this, I felt all chemistry between us die. Because I guess I shouldn't have told, Carlos. Or I guess I trusted in Carlos to not say this. And he let it blurt out as a middle schooler. And I just look over her and I'm like, wow. And, she's like, wow. And after that, I apologized, kind of stopped talking to her after that. Separated myself from that friend group because I saw them as her friends, and I had no right to be in there with her friends. And eventually I started hanging out, honestly, what I like to call my nerd people. These kids were awesome. They weren't the popular kids, but this is what I always said. The kids that aren't the popular kids are always the coolest kids because they're always the kids that got personality. Popular kids just worry about popularity. Cool people are cool people. But, yeah, I started hanging out with my people, eventually I think Adonis and Braulio started sitting with me too. And, from there, it's funny because the girl that I thought was into me and the girl that I was, trying to talk to at the time, they were like kind of beefing with each other and they were like really mad at each other, I guess, because the girl that was into me originally, the girl that I was talking to had given me her, or had gotten my contact to get, or had gotten my Instagram so I could give her friend her number. But I'm gonna be honest, if there's one thing I like, it's confidence, So I don't mean that for anybody out there. My girlfriend, if you're listening out there. But it was the fact that she had to reach out to me. I was like, you know what, like, why am I talking to you if, I'm supposed to be talking to her type shit, young Grizz God, don't want to hype myself up. But I was like, why should I be talking to her if I'm talking to you? And I guess I just got a good flow of conversation with her, and that's why I liked her more, because it just felt like more comfortable, I guess. But they were beefing up until the point that I separated myself from that group and they were friends again. And I was like, damn. I honestly felt bad, and I was glad I had separated myself from that group, because I was like, I don't need to be there if, I made two people start fighting each other. But, from here, let me think. What else do I get into? Was into basketball. I guess COVID came around and hit around this time. Yeah, school got shut down for. Originally it was going to be spring break, and I had gone to Arkansas for a week to visit my sister for spring break because she lived in Arkansas. She's a regional manager for First Convenience Bank. Amazing person, amazing woman, amazing worker, but she had gone out to Arkansas to help them like establish, banks over there, right? She was really good at that, and I promised her I was going to go over there for a week and hang out with her and visit with her, because I love my sister, and that's what I did. We went over there for a week. I hung out with her, had a good time, played a lot of basketball at the rec center. Arkansas is a beautiful state. Like, I cannot urge this enough. Arkansas is so beautiful. She lived right by a lake. And I think the first time I started running was to run to that lake just because of how nice it was. My biggest fear has always been alligators and crocodiles because I think that if I'm in the water, they're gonna kill me. You know, if on land I can beat up an alligator. That's the way I think. I think I could beat up an alligator. If I'm being honest. You know, people think like, oh, you know, you're being a man, man. No, man. Like, put an alligator on land in front of me, have that thing come at me, and I'll just try to close his jaw because their jaw is locked. So if their jaw is closed and you can close it, you know, it's just jujitsu, gator jujitsu. But yeah, no, my biggest fear was always alligators. But you know, I love that lake and I love that water. It was a beautiful place. Honestly, I might have some photos on my Instagram about it. Check out my page, nature and you know, shit. That's what it's called. No, trees and shit. That's what it's called. But it's a bunch of just nature photos that I used to take. I'll try to get into it again. I have my film cameras. I just haven't been using them as much. You know, got a lot going on in life. But yeah, gone over there for a week to visit. COVID had hit while I was over there. And I remember it was a weird thing where everyone was like, oh, how bad is it going to be? Or, you know, toilet paper's running out. And I'd actually started talking to that girl again. Lexi, she disappears and reappears throughout my life. Or she did, until I finally let go of that and, you know, kind of moved on. I'm in a better place now. I'm much happier now. Happy about that, too. But, yeah. Remember I'd gone back home. COVID had hit. This is where I really started dedicating myself to basketball again. You know, no school. All I had to do was play basketball. All I did was play basketball. Got to the point where, like, I was pretty good, man. Like, I could start shooting with my eyes closed. I could shoot heavily contested. I like to think I had a sort of Luka Doncic kind of flow where I wasn't, you know, a fast player or I didn't have a good fast pace, but I was smooth at the time. I had rhythm. You know, I could go tween, you know, put my shoulder into you, come off, you know, hand up. This is the thing. This is the way I shot. I used to shoot like this. You know, it was the first time I had developed the cookie cutter. You know, dip your hand in the cookie jar, but it was more like that. Just going like that, man. Swish. It was also the first time I started beating my friend Alonzo more often, you know. I started taking him in one-on-ones and he couldn't take me no more, man. By the way, if you're watching this, Alonzo, hit me up and handle the business any day, man. But, yeah. I had gotten really into basketball again. And, let me think. Yeah, I got really into basketball again, was working out daily, was just working my ass off. And it got to the point where, like, it wasn't even healthy. I would play, like, you know, 10, 12 hours a day, outside, inside. You know, the rec center got shut down. I was outside putting up shots. You know, rec center opened up. I'd be there at 6 in the morning putting up shots. Not 6 in the morning, like 10 in the morning putting up shots, all the way till like 4 p.m. and then I go home. I used to say, I used to have this mentality or this quote that I had in my head: make your worst day everybody else's best day. Make your best day unbelievable. That was my mentality back then for basketball. You know, I used to say, if I want to be the best, I have to make my bad days, you know, everybody else's best day. You know, everybody else playing at their best, I'm playing at my worst. And you know, my best days I just got to be unbelievable. But yeah, it's a good quote. You know, if y'all want to take that for life, y'all should. I think it's a good quote. But yeah, I started playing basketball daily, and was getting honestly pretty good at it. Was getting excited for going into high school basketball. Honestly, thought I could have made a varsity as a freshman at this point because of how good I was. I sound really egotistical because I suck now, and you know, I'm not. God didn't have that in His mind for me. But I was working my ass off, and I'm proud to say that I got to play some basketball where I could say I was really good. But COVID hits, and it got to a point where I think I was working out my body too much, where I just suffered from overexhaustion, where I had a day that I just had a fever, that I went home and slept for, I think, from 10 a.m. to like 1 a.m. And it was one of those days where I just sweated, you know, had a fever and sweated out whatever I had in me. But, yeah, and from here I had to go into quarantine because they didn't know if I had COVID, and my sister had gone to her funeral and had contracted COVID, but she lived with me at the time, by the way. And my parents, you know, were a bit older, so they didn't want to risk getting COVID, so, you know, just quarantined. And I didn't get tested for the first month, this is the most annoying part about COVID. I didn't get tested for the first month of COVID, and I was asymptomatic the whole time. So for the first month of COVID, I was, you know, locked in my house and not doing anything, which was really lame for the first 2 weeks. You know, I think I used to go outside and play basketball, you know, on my little mini hoop, dunk around. But I was just really, you know, lazy at this point. And then after that, I had gotten into One Piece, yeah. I'd gotten really into anime actually. That's where I started, watching anime. Always been into Pokemon, Beyblades, all the little kid stuff. But I started getting into, anime, man, like real anime. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm very proud of this. I watched 600 episodes of One Piece within 2 weeks because of COVID. You can do the math. You can see how long that took me. I think, if you watch day and night, it took you about a week, like just all the way through. But I did it in like 2 weeks, which, incorporating time I ate and slept. All I did was watch anime in my room. And I remember by the time I had finished One Piece, my family, I had gotten checked, and this time I had to come out, positive. I had COVID, asymptomatic. Most of my family had gotten it at this point, so we weren't tripping, about being around each other, but we were trying to, avoid infecting other people. And this is the weird part about COVID. I had the mindset that just simply going outside could get somebody sick. That I didn't even want to go outside and be in the presence of others. Like, think about that, man. I used to sneak out at night. Like, it was the first time I started sneaking out. I used to sneak out at night to go out there and just play basketball at night. I remember a couple times a cop pulled up on me, but like they didn't tell me anything because it's just playing basketball. But I remember it was also, so I'd watch One Piece, watch that all the way through. After that, I got bored, was trying to get into basketball again, but I wasn't that into it because, COVID, and I just couldn't be outside as much or play as much. So I didn't want to be around people, get them sick. And got to a point where, like, it was the first time I had, being a middle schooler, it was one of the first times I had began drinking. Or I had drank. I'm not going to say began drinking because I don't drink. I'm not an alcoholic. Haven't taken a sip of alcohol since high school party last year, October. Yeah, Halloween party last year. Last time I drank, I took, I think, a shot of tequila, and that was it. Yeah. Maybe I drank in Christmas, I'm not sure. Holidays, special occasions, around family, camaraderie, that's what I think it's there for. I don't think, it's there for anything else. But, yeah, I had a little Jaritos bottle, and I had to mix it with some vodka, chug that thing, gone out there to play basketball at night. Estoy echando un video, si quieres. Nomás aquí solo. Sorry guys, it's my mom.
Vete para allá.
¿Sí hablaste con la señora?
Sí, me habló.
Qué bueno, ma. Ahorita platicamos más de acabar esto.
Hoy mañana, mi amor, ¿qué hacemos trabaja mañana?
A las 2.
¿A las 2?
Sí.
Mira, porque ya tengo. ¿Con qué vamos a preparar un pan? ¿Qué
No te
cenas es?
No, pero ahorita ceno yo. Yo ahorita me hago un huevo o algo ligero. But, bueno. Yeah, I snuck out, and I remember I was a little drunk, but it wasn't even about being, playing basketball while drunk. It was more about being out late at night while drunk, just walking around being loopy, because it didn't feel normal to me, and I guess that's what I liked, the irregular feelings. So I talked to another girl at the time, I think, yeah, around that time. I'm a weird person, man. Not gonna lie. It was a really short, weird thing. It was a fling, the definition of a fling. Definitely was lust, nothing but lust. But this girl had told me she had loved me for the first time. And that was the first time I had heard it from a girl. And I'm not gonna lie, I started crying, man. Like, I was in my room bawling. I didn't even have a phone at the time. I think I had just broken my phone. So I was playing basketball outside, and I like tried dunking, and I landed on it wrong. So I'd bended. This was actually before I got COVID. But yeah, she had told me she loved me for the first time. And I remember I started crying because I was just excited, man. I always loved love, and I guess I've always loved the concept of love. And, love conquers all, man. Yo, man, you can't go inside. No. Sorry. Mom came outside. He saw her go inside. He wants to go inside. By the way, he has a room out here. If he wants air conditioning, he has air conditioning. He just chooses not to. I'm recording, man. But, yeah, I've always been just a lover guy, man. Yeah, got into COVID, COVID's what pushed me away from basketball, I guess. So I was in quarantine for 3 months. I'd worked really hard before 3 months, but, after 3 months of not playing basketball, you lose everything, man. Like, go not touch. I guess, this was God giving me a light that basketball wasn't my passion. Because, no, man, you're going to have to go over there if you're going to try to play with me. Go over there. Go. That's a good boy. Play. But, it's God giving me his light that basketball wasn't, my life. But I'd gone back out there to play basketball. I remember I snuck out one morning after like a month of not playing. And I shot the ball and I airballed the ball for like 5 times straight. And I just kept doing form shooting the same way I used to, trying to use the same form, and it just didn't feel the same. And I honestly got mad, punched the pillar, which was the dumbest thing I've ever done. If you look at my knuckle, actually, it's a little weird. It's like up here, I guess, because I was mad. Still a little out of place, I think. But, yeah, don't get mad and don't punch pillars, guys. I feel like it should be common sense, but some people do need that advice. I needed that advice at the time, so there's that advice, guys. But started pushing away from basketball. Went to Arkansas again. Remember, I saw this girl on Zoom. I wasn't planning on talking to any girls going into the year because of a little fling I had over the summer. You can ask my friend Alonzo about this. Like, I should have told him no more women, focusing on myself. But I'm a lover boy, guys. Like, because I've always just needed love, and I'm happy that I found it now. I'm in a very happy, healthy place. But I saw this girl, right? She looked kind of cool. She looked, I guess I got a vibe from her that, I don't know. Guess I got a vibe from her, right? And so, I had this. I was talking to this other girl. I wasn't talking to her, but I had her as a friend, and I told her about it, and she was like, "Yo, man, like you should figure out how to." Hey, man, no, man, can't be crying, man. Go to your room, Spike. You're gonna be crying. Go to your room. But yeah, she had told me like about her and her boyfriend. She's like, do you really think me and my boyfriend would be together right now if he was too much of a little bitch to, ask me out? That's what she told me basically. And I was like, damn. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I have to grow up here, do it. So you know how I did it? In the best way I can put it, the most Jesus way possible. I emailed her, man. I'll see if I still have the email, if I can pull it up. If I do, I definitely will post that, man. Blur out her names, but I emailed her, man. And it's funny because she told me this is where I should have seen the red flags early on, because she wasn't the best person. I guess she had her own problems going on. That's why I like to think about people. If they're not the best people, it's because they got their own life. They got their own stuff going on. Sometimes it's nice to take it out on someone else, but it's not the right thing to do. But yeah, whenever she replied actually to only respond to me because I had the answers for Spanish. I had one of the ways to get into our website for Spanish because I paid attention in class, I guess. And she had replied to me. She's like, yeah, by the way, do you know how to do this? She's like, yeah, I'd love to be friends, by the way. And she's like, do you know how to do this and this? Two, hey man. But she was like, yeah, do you know how to do this and this too? And I helped her out. We started talking from there. I'll get into that with Cruz because that's where Cruz comes into the picture. That's where I think our me and Cruz's history is kind of funny. I love Cruz. He's the homie. I saw him today actually. I was riding back to school because I was supposed to record that podcast with the teachers, and I think he was on his way home or on his way to pick up his. I don't know. He was doing his stuff, right? But I stopped by and I'm like, yo, Cruz, you look beautiful, man. I might just give you a kiss. By the way, I'm not homosexual, nothing against homosexuals. But what I am is, I am very much homosexual. That is a joke, by the way. I don't want to sound too serious on there and have people like, whoa. But, yeah, no, I'll joke about, I'll joke very loosely with my friends because, we're just like that. And I think it's a new generation thing. But, yeah, I saw him today, and started talking to that girl. And this is where I started getting kind of philosophical. I asked my sister, these are genuine questions I asked her at the time. Like, I remember one time I asked her, like, is a crazy person really crazy if they simply view the world from their own perspective, and everybody views the world from their own perspective? So if something exists within the reality, isn't that reality to them? So are they crazy, or are we all crazy for looking at them weird? Just weird stuff like that makes you go, what'd you just say to me, man? Yeah, it's just weird stuff. But yeah, I emoter, got into that, and eventually I go back to Raleigh High School. I'd missed basketball tryouts at this point, so I didn't think I was gonna be on the basketball team. I went back around Halloween time. I remember I have this friend named Chris and his little brother Felipe. Cool dude. I'll have to get them both on here, hopefully, But Coach Newcomer, yeah, that's where it starts. So I met them at the park one time, and I'd gone out there to play basketball with them, at this local park, Katy Rover Park by my house, right? And freshman basketball coach was there, Coach Newcomer. And it's funny because I was playing with them, and I was doing pretty good, and just doing my little job. I was a little bouncy because I worked out with this kid named Uriah forgot, Boyoe? I don't know how to say his last name. I'll try to link him to this video. Y'all should definitely check him out. Crazy bounce, man. This kid is up next, just insane at basketball. God-given talent. But yeah, I was able to grab her in because I used to work out with him, and I kind of did this, showed off to Coach Newcomer, and Chris looks over at Coach Newcomer. He's like, yo, you should get him on team. Like, you definitely know on team. And Coach Newcomer is like, he was the freshman coach, so he couldn't get me on the team unless I was a freshman. And he looks at me, he's like, I don't know if I can get you on the team, man. And then Chris is like, he's a freshman. He's like, what grade are you? And I'm like, I'm a freshman. And Coach was like, oh yeah, we're getting you on the team, man. You come to practice. You come to practice this Thursday, or you come to practice this B day, and we'll get you suited up, man. And it's funny because this is why I have 2.5 credits in Spanish, because I took half a credit my freshman year, and then I dropped it because I went to basketball. They made me take a whole year of Spanish my junior year. On top of that, I took the credit by exam and hoped that I could drop Spanish 1. This is all Spanish 1, by the way. I took the credit by exam in hopes that I could drop the Spanish 1 class because I didn't need to be in there. I'm fluent in Spanish. Y'all heard me talk to my mom. It's one of my native languages. And so I didn't think I had to be in that class. I'm going to be honest. Last year, I really went to Spanish 1. I went there whenever I felt like it was appropriate for me to go, or whenever I felt like I'd been missing too much class. But I didn't need to be in that classroom. My teacher knew that. Like, whenever I'd go in there, kids would cheat off of me. I'd give kids answers, I'd essentially be there to help other kids out. I wouldn't be there to learn for myself. And it got to the point where, like, she used to get off for kids being on the phones and stuff like that. She couldn't do that to me because I'm fluent in Spanish, man. But, or I like to think I'm fluent enough. My reading and my reading's gotten better, but my writing's a little iffy. It is for both English and Spanish. I'm a little illiterate. If you haven't, realized, if you're one of my teachers, I'm sure you've seen some of my notes and just gone, like, whoa, man, you don't know what you're writing. I don't know half the time, but yeah, I dropped Spanish for this. Started playing basketball my freshman year. This is where I met my first high school people, and I guess this is where I realized that you can have more than one set of people, because I met friends like Dimitri, Jacoby, Ryan, a bunch of different people. And Coach Newcomer was a great coach because we weren't the best freshman team. We were honestly pretty bad, but Coach Newcomer made us good by running us through the ground and making sure we were a disciplined basketball team at least. He's an amazing coach. Definitely an even better running coach. If you want to be really good at running, that's your man. Like, hit up Coach Newcomer. He got one of our runners to regionals. Almost got him to state, but it just wasn't in the path for our runner to go to state. Jeremiah Evans, amazing guy, God gifted, talent, freak athlete. But yeah, Coach Newcomer always pushed us to be a better version of ourselves. Thank you to Coach Newcomer. Freshman year was pretty fun. Standard freshman year, I was an immature freshman, very much also immature sophomore. Come around track season, Coach Newcomer, I wasn't the best basketball player, but I was, like I said, a good hustle man on the court. Would set screens, would do my role, would do my part. Never had the confidence of a role player. Always just, or never had the confidence of a star player. Always had the confidence of a role player, which, I've learned to live with that, man. But, yeah, coming around track season, that's where Coach Newcomer really started digging into me. Track after school, track during basketball, track in the summer. I was a runner after that, man. Like, look at how skinny I am, man. Like, I like to think I've been gaining muscle. Ah, that hurts. Sorry, I got a little bit of a messed up elbow. I like to think I've gained a little bit of muscle, but hey, man, I'm pretty skinny dude because of Coach Newcomer. But yeah, it just got me really into running, track and all that. And this is where I met my second set of people, the cross country team. And it's funny because if you, Dimitri, I'll get my friend Dimitri on here. He can tell you that the cross country team and the basketball team, complete polar opposites. Like, we used to have conversations about, like, imagine if the basketball team was here, like, in the cross country locker room, or imagine if the cross country people were in the basketball team locker room. Like, it would be so awkward and weird, or it'd just be such a fun experience because, they're just so different, right? But, yeah, I met some great people here. I met two sets of people, but this is also where I kind of started to question, things a bit, because I have always been, a friendly person, lover, integrate friend groups. And I remember I had this guy named Joshua Seipel. He had his little friend group, and I guess he didn't want to integrate them with mine because one day his friends, met me. I think his friend name was Nas or something like that. And me being the cool guy I was like, yo, what's up? My name's Jesus. And he was like, yo, what's up? My name's Nas. And his friends look pretty cool, so I'm like, yo, you look pretty cool. And I'm like, well, what's up? Come to find out that, I try to I sat with my friends at lunch, and I guess Josh one day he sat next to me, and I was like, yo, like, what's up? Like, trying to introduce myself to more of his friends and like trying to introduce them to my friends, and Josh was like, no. And I guess it's just a high schooler thing to not want to mix your friend groups, and just be so conformed. Like, ¿me está marcando?
Sí, ya pasó tu carga. Ahí tienes 3 tacos.
Gracias, ma.
Ya no.
Sorry, my beautiful, lovely woman. It's calling me. I'm just going to let her know I'm doing this real quick, and then I'll get right back to it. Leave it on speakerphone. By the way, I'm recording my podcast right now. I'm probably not going to edit any of this out. Yeah, I just want to let you know. I was just saying that so you could watch what you said. Sorry, you weren't on speaker. I'll take it. But, yeah, I'm doing it by myself. I'm doing it a little bit about me. You know how I did it yesterday? Well, that video got deleted. And then I tried to re-upload it, or I tried to do a new one today. And that one, for some reason, didn't work. So I'm just going to have to redo the whole video again, which is what I'm doing. Is it cool if I call you back afterwards? Alright. Bye. Love you. Mwah. Alright. But, yeah, I guess it's just a high school thing. I'd love to get Joshua Seipel on here to hear why he did that at the time or what his thought process was behind that. I like to think that people, grow and hopefully he's a different person now or wouldn't do something like that. Or hopefully I'd be able to shed a light on why I think that's wrong because, essentially I'm nobody to tell him that he's doing wrong. If he doesn't want to integrate his friend groups, he doesn't have to. I just thought it would have been a fun idea. But, yeah, got through that. By the end of my sophomore year, I was still kind of talking to this girl. I like to say talking because we were only talking the whole time, never talked in person, never hung out in person. It was like kind of only through the phone, which should have been one of my main red flags, and I should have left a long time because of it. But, hey, man, like, I was a lover boy, and I thought I was in love. But, towards the end of my sophomore year, I had realized that this girl was really making me unhappy, and I was basically depressed because of her again. Because I had gotten rid of depression before, and I started to experience it again. I don't like being depressed, guys. Like, if y'all see me sad and mopey or like putting my head down, please ask me what's going on because maybe I do need to, realize what's going on. Because my manager at work is the one that convinced me to break up with her because I told her about everything that had going on recently. I just kind of vented to her, and she was like, "Yeah, man, she's playing you. She doesn't care about you." Turns out she was right. Like, I'll say that for another story, but she was right. But yeah, I had broken up with her. And this is where I like to think that my life could have gone a lot different or a lot worse. Because this is where I begin to, I like to say, sin a lot. I became sexually active. In the span of 4 months, I had sex with 6 different people. It was kind of, and honestly, wasn't enjoyable. Kind of just went around just to say I did it. Not a good thing, not a good mentality. Definitely try to push away from that. If I could, I would take it back, not because of the people I did it with, but because of the fact that it wasn't necessarily special with them, that I kind of just did it to do with them, and I do apologize for those women, because sure it was a lot more meaningful to them, or it could have been a lot more meaningful to them, and just don't do that, guys. It's not a good thing to do. But yeah, I done that for the span of 4 months. I tried pot for the first time in, I want to say September around last year. No, 2 years ago. Yeah. Not last year. Yeah, last year. Yeah. September around last year, so around this time. Hey man, can't be barking. You're gonna have to go in your room. Your room. But yeah, September of last year, and then September of last year is whenever I tried pot for the first time. My brother's had a rough childhood. My family doesn't come from money, doesn't come from wealth, and I'm convinced that my brother as a child was bullied or had some form of bullying in his life, because or at least someone degraded him, or at least made him think that materialistic items are important in life. And this led my brother to a life of being a delinquent. He's been in and out of prison since the age of 12. Really only had him in my life for, the span of these 6 months I'm about to go over, and about a week or two. Sorry, I got something in my eye. If I cry, I'll cry. But, right, it's really something in my eye right now. It isn't a bit of an emotional topic for me. But, yeah, he had been in and out of prison since the age of 12. And he just, I guess he thought money was the most important thing on this world. And he, did a lot of stuff that he shouldn't have been doing for money. And so he gets released in September from, I think, a 10-year, sentence. And he comes out of prison. My sisters like to say that he came out of prison a drug addict. I'm not sure. That's, between him and the Lord. But he came out of prison, with bad experiences, and kind of just off. And for the next, I guess, 6 months, I started to realize that he was schizophrenic. I'm not sure if it was because he was on crack or he was, doing drugs. We later do find out that my brother was a really bad crack addict, which I don't even blame him. Because if you know anything about what crack does to a person, it is psychologically addictive, which simply means, sorry, I got that confused with pot. Pot is psychologically addictive. Crack is physically addictive, which means that your brain quite literally, hey man, go to your room. Go to your room. Sorry, he's a social dog, and he wants, to hang out with people. But, yeah, crack is physically addictive, which I'm not sure if you know what that means, but it means that your brain quite literally changes its chemical composites to accept the chemical compound of crack, and to essentially make room for it and say that it belongs in your brain, and it becomes an addiction where if you don't have crack, your brain will literally tell you that you need crack to survive. This is why I don't blame my brother for his crack addiction. He really just fell victim to to the war on drugs, as I like to say. But yeah, he came out of prison being a crack addict and a schizophrenic, and he essentially would have arguments with himself, where he'd come out here and he'd try to rearrange the house to clean something up, or he'd be painting on the walls, just doing something weird, right? And my mom would call him out for it, and he'd say, "No, I'm gonna do it because I want to do it." No, I don't. This was his mindset. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that was honestly his mindset. Throughout all those 6 months, he would do a lot of disrespectful stuff. He eventually gets in a hey man, get down, go over there. I'm not gonna deal with you barking. But he eventually gets in a bit of a roughhouse or a tussle, not a tough tussle, but an argument with my brother-in-law. And from here he kind of drives my sister Brenda out of the house. It was a good and bad thing, because she had been putting off buying a house for a while, but I'd like to think it helped her, help put her in a position to to get that mindset of I need this house. You know, I can't live here anymore. I need to buy my own house. And my parents were trying to push her out a lot because, you know, they thought it was time for her to spread her wings. They thought they had cradled her too much and she was, you know, at the house too much. She was doing a good living. It's just that she had 2 kids already. They wanted to start her life and, you know, get her home. Which, you know, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. You know, it's perspective. But yeah, eventually pushed my sister out. And then my first, you know, my closest near-death experience, I like to say, not my first, was with my friend Ryan. You know, he's also one of my best friends. Yeah, I almost died next to him. That's why I say that. We were hanging out one night. Honestly, we were going to go pick up some... Never mind. I'm not going to say that because it's not my business to say. But yeah, we were just hanging out, man. And we were going to go play basketball at this park that I think was in Sunnyvale, if I remember clearly. And that's one of the things we were doing that night. And we were riding, you know, both of us were sober. Nobody was under the influence. His light had just turned green. But the way it was that it was a 1-lane road to go straight, and then there's a separate lane to turn. But because there was a car here, there was a car on the other side that I guess didn't see us coming because we were in the blind spot, and our light had just turned green, but they decided to go. So as we were going, you know, he's going, and they start turning into him, and he kind of turns, and they hit the back of him, and he goes straight into the back of a post. And I'm not gonna lie, I had my feet kind of up like this, you know, on the car. And so whenever I did this, I reacted fast enough to my feet down, but because of that, my seatbelt was loose, and I kind of boom and hit myself, and I got hurt pretty bad. Not gonna lie, like I think I still have photos of that. I'll definitely post those on my on this page too, you know, the Instagram page. But you know, I have a scar right here from that. I think if you still see it, it's kind of faded away by now. But it was a pretty bad accident. You know, half my face was swollen. I had to take like I think 2-week period break from basketball. You know, wasn't gonna let it hold me back that much. But yeah, also I got my first tattoo by this point. If y'all haven't noticed that, it's love, hope, and peace. You know, I just thought it was a really cool idea, you know, getting something wrapped around my arm. I'm really into tattoos, by the way, and I think they represent a big part of who you are. So I want to get meaningful tattoos, so I eventually want to get a flower right here and a bunch of butterflies and bees to fill in for Adventure Time. Then right here, I kind of want to get 2 snakes wrapping around my thumb and have them make a heart right here on my thumb, and like have their fangs touch and like have a drop of venom dropping from that fang, because you know love is poison. You know, I think it's a fun concept. I want to get a big flower right here and have the veins shoot, you know, wrap around my arms, and eventually, you know, kind of have the shading looking like it's going into my arms, and just want to get a bunch of tattoos, man. If I don't know something about who I am right now as a person, I love tattoos. If you want to talk to me about something, talking about any one of your tattoos ideas. But also, favorite music, because I think music is an important part. Tribe Called Quest, Mac Miller, J. Cole. Let's see, what else? Kendrick Lamar. I like old school rap. I've been getting into rock and roll lately. I like everything, man. Indie pop, Claro, Men I Trust. Honestly, I used to be ashamed of the fact that I liked indie pop in middle school, but I grew out of that because I realized my ideology has always been, if I work out enough and I get strong enough to the point that nobody can make fun of me, then who cares if anybody makes fun of me, because I can beat them up. But now my mentality is, you know, who cares if anybody makes fun of me? It's my life. Who cares? But yeah, I've always been into indie pop and rap. But lately I've been getting into more genres. Jazz, I love jazz. You know, jazz, classical music, and rain noises are my favorite things to listen to while I'm doing homework. You know, because it just gets you in the zone to learn. But yeah, let me think. Got into that car accident. Remember I had gotten home, or I remember I went to the hospital that night because it was pretty bad, and I was in the ER for a while. But whenever I got home, my brother wasn't home. Come to find out that he had been. This is why I say my brother wasn't mentally okay at the time, and whenever he needed help the most, kind of like the judicial system and the government didn't give him help, which is why I'm grateful for the experience I had with him, because it hooked me up to reality. But he got arrested that night because he laid his hands on my sister and broke her phone. I didn't figure this out until a couple days later. But hopefully I have an old video. But of me waking up and like in the middle of the night, him banging on the door, and he was just saying a bunch of crazy stuff, a bunch of bad stuff that I don't think anybody that would be mentally sane at the time would have been saying. He also walked from 2 a.m. all the way till 6 a.m. from Dallas to Rowlett just to get to my house because my parents wouldn't pick him up because they told him that if we're gonna pick you up, you have to be calm, relax. And he said no, like I'm gonna raise hell and I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna raise terror. And that's what he did, man. And so I was pretty beat up in the morning. Woke up, I think I made a funny video because I was like, I had to wake up to my brother and dealing with all this. But yeah, that's kind of the stuff I had to do with my brother. I know after this, I get caught for the first time with pot on me. I got caught with a good amount, more than I should have had. At a park with a friend. Police showed up. They take it up. Sorry, literature isn't my strong suit right now. They take it up, give me a ticket, and call my parents, someone come pick me up. They could have taken me to jail, to be honest. And honestly, I'm going to be honest. The reason I got out of there is because I had a white guy with me. My white friend got me out of there. I think that if I would have been with anybody else, I would have been in prison that night, and my charges would have been a lot worse. But because I had a white friend that night that, was able to kind of, yes, sir, yes, officer. And I'm going to be honest, I was high as shit. Like, whenever I got there, I didn't know my brain wasn't functioning, so I kind of just stayed silent. And it was like, I think, 40 degrees outside, so I can't handle the cold, so I was, shivering. And I just looked like a crackhead, to be honest. And I guess the cops, because the cops weren't too nice to me, except for one of them. They played good cop, bad cop, I guess, with me. And the one that was playing bad cop, I guess he thought I looked like a crackhead and was treating me like a crackhead. I was 16 at the time, by the way. My friend, I think, was 17, 18. Thank God I didn't get charged as an adult. That's why I say, kids, just don't be dumb. Everything has a time and a place. Just give it its time and place. But, yeah, no, I got caught with that. And after that, I had, stopped smoking, of course. Didn't want to get in trouble with the law. I saw what the judicial system did to my brother. The court system did to my brother. And, by the way, I'll go over this with Dr. Bradshaw on Monday, but 13th Amendment right gives slaves the freedom of slavery, except if a slave is arrested, or if someone is arrested. And then they're a legal slave to the state. So all our prisoners are technically, doing slave labor to the government. Putting that out there, by the way. But, yeah, so I saw how bad the system was, and I decided to, take a break from that. And, it really did help cope. That's why I used it for coping. Because whenever you get home high and you just have that mentality of, oh, I'm high all the time. I think that's why so many kids my age use it, because they have a lot of problems going on at home or with the world. A lot of kids can't accept the fact that the best way they can make a change is by being the best person they can be. And they just feel like so much negativity in the world that they have to be a negative person or they have to smoke to get rid of that negativity. And I used to go home with the mentality of, oh, I'm high, I don't deal with that bullshit. Or I'm high, I don't have to listen to that. Oh, I'm high, my brother's yelling, but I can go to sleep because I'm high. And after like 2 weeks of not smoking, I couldn't deal with it. And this is where, it's where I get personal, man. My brother was yelling at my mom, being rude and disrespectful, and just not saying nice things. And I remember I was like, I got ready to fight. I took off my socks. I got ready for worst case scenario because I had confrontations with my brother before, and I realized that, at the time, he was kind of like in an animal state, where if it's like you say the wrong thing or you approach him in the wrong way, he's going to bounce on you and attack. And I think a lot of people are in this state, and this is why I like to be a positive person or watch what I say with people, because, anybody can be ready to attack at any time. I don't want anybody to be in that animal state, because seeing my brother in that state, and not only that, but feeling myself get in that state of anger too, I don't like being that angry, and I don't like seeing people that angry, so let's try to avoid that feeling altogether. But, walk over there to the living room, my brother's yelling at my mom, he was playing really loud music, it's like 11:30, my dad's trying to go to sleep, he has work the next day, and I remember what really pissed me off was the fact that my dad had locked the door, you could hear the click, and I knew he had done this out of fear of my brother, My parents are getting to a weird age where they can't handle stuff like that anymore. And I realized this, and I was like, you know what, like this isn't cool, man. Like my dad hasn't done anything to deserve this. He doesn't deserve to be dealing with this right now. He's always provided for me, provided for my family. And I just got tired of it, man. So I walk out over there, and I'm kind of just watching from a distance, making sure he's not hurting my mom. And he looks at me, and he looks at me with a look of animal like that. And he kind of like looks at me, ignores me, and continues to talk to my mom. And eventually he looks at me, and he says like, what's up with you? And he calls me the N-word often. You know, I don't use that word. I don't think it's appropriate, but I get why people use it. It's the fact that, you know, a lot of people that if they grow up in an environment where it's often used, it feels culturally acceptable to use it. But he said that, right? And I looked at him for some reason, you know, I was ready to say it. I said, go outside. Because my mom was telling me to go outside and like play his music outside, do whatever, but just do it outside and let my dad sleep. And she was like, go outside. And my brother was like, my brother got up to me, he was like, what'd you say to me? And he started to rush me, right? And so I walked up to him, and I pick him up on my shoulder, right? Put him on top of my shoulder. You know, he's a little shorter than me, but he's also a little bulkier and stronger, but he was fasting at the time. I think that's what he was doing. And he was on crack at the time, so his body wasn't in the best condition. So he was pretty light and easy to pick up, so I pick him up, and my mom starts begging me to put him down, so I just put him down. And as I put him down, he swings at me out of, reaction instinct, then realizes that he did something wrong, puts his hands up. From there, this is where I realized my brother's a very smart person. He's just grown up in the wrong environment. He kind of manipulated the situation in a way that he called the cops himself. He said that I tried to attack him. He started recording me because I had lost my emotion, I lost my cool, and I was crying, you know, breaking. You can honestly probably find the video on Facebook somewhere. But I was crying, I was, you know, going off on him, you know, telling him that my parents were done dealing with this, you know, BS. And he was like, he's mad, he's basically acting like a child. Sorry, I don't want to say my brother, he was acting like a child at the time. And so eventually I had the cops get there, I walk outside, you know. This is why also I don't like the police. First officer on response is the one in charge of the case. And first officer on response is going to respond to the person that directly called the police. Meaning that whoever calls the police first can kind of manipulate the situation. So first cop walks straight aside, talks to my brother. Second cop, I kind of explained to him what's going on and what had happened. He told me to calm down, you know, it's okay. I'd called my girlfriend. That's why I love my girlfriend. She was with me at the lowest of my times, and she helped me, you know, become the person I am today, and I'm very grateful for her for that. And yeah, we're just becoming better people together. I'm happy for that. But I was on the phone with her. She was helping me calm down, and he kind of told the cops that, you know, I tried to attack him, what I told y'all, and the cop was gonna take me away for the night. I called my sister, told her about this, and she was going off on the cop. My sisters are very passionate, very emotional, but sometimes they lose their emotion or they get too passionate and they don't know how to handle a situation properly. So I just hang up on my sister, you know, hang up on her, look at the cop, and, you know, have a heart-to-heart conversation. So I realized that's what I'm good at, guys. Just having conversations with people and getting my point across, I guess, and, you know, doing the best to understand their point. And I tell him, I'm like, hey, man, like, I'm not sure what he told you, but he was yelling at my parents. He's been doing stuff like this for months. You know, I've had altercations with him before, and I just went over there to tell him something, and he rushed me and attacked me, so I picked him up, and, you know. And and I started crying or something like that. And this is where I grow a lot as a person. The cop, you know, he takes my side eventually and he arrests my brother because the best they could do for the night was to get him at the house. They could arrest him for the night. And my brother realizes that, but he tries to manipulate the situation where he's like, you know what, I'll just leave. You know, I'll be gone for the night. I don't know where I go, but I'll be gone for the night. And, you know, saying that he's not going to stay at the house, but my cops were like, no, like, be assaulted your brother, you're going to prison tonight. And it wasn't that big of a deal, but I get why they did it because, you know, it was a rough situation for my parents. He had, you know, driven everybody out the house. It was the only way we could get him out the house at that point. So that's what we did. And they follow restraining orders, something like that. Call the cops. This is why I say, you know, I don't like the cops, but I rather call the cops than hurt somebody myself, to be honest. You know, that's my ideology. But yeah, and I think that's what anybody's ideology should be. You know, the law is there for a reason. And, you know, sometimes it may not be there. It may not be there to benefit us minorities, but hey, you know, use it, manipulate it to the best of your abilities, and use it to the best of your power. Because, you know, knowledge is power, and anything can be power. But yeah, They take my brother away from the night. My sister comes to pick me up. My brother, he was already a crack addict at the time, and I expressed to the cops that he needed mental help. He has schizophrenic tendencies. I had, I'm not sure if I still have them, but I had videos of him quite literally having, breakdowns between himself. And they just arrested him for the night. Took him to prison. Put him back in the same system that he came from. And so my brother goes to prison for the night. My mom's pleading, because my mom's an amazing mother. I love my mom so much, and my mom has made me realize what it means to be a mother. Because what it means to be a mother is not love all your kids equally, but love all your kids to the best of your abilities. And give them help when they need help. Because my brother needed more help than I did. And so she gave him more help. Sorry, my dad's walking over here to check on me, I guess. But yeah, she gave him help whenever he needed help. And she gave him more love than she gave me whenever he needed more love than I needed. Because to be honest, I had received a whole happy childhood. My brother never had that. And so I have no reason to be mad. Sorry, my dad. I have no reason to be mad or unhappy about the way she handled the situation. Because she wanted me to take it all back. She wanted me to drop all charges and just let him stay there for the night. But I wasn't even going to let that happen with the situation I had going on at home. So they take him away for the night. Eventually he gets kicked out of the house. And was living on the streets for a while. On the streets. I say streets because my parents did help him out, give him a truck. This is why I say my mom is a loving mother. She would never want to have one of her kids on the streets or homeless, no matter what. Like, she couldn't have them. And, he was still smoking pot. I'm not sure if he was, doing crack at the time. But I know eventually winter comes around, it gets really cold in Texas, or it got really cold this year. And it didn't force us to let him into our house, but it forced us. We gave him the opportunity to come home. And after a while, he started showing up at the house again, and we started, letting him come in and out. Gave him privilege to come inside the house. We gave him privilege to his backyard. And the same shit kind of happened again, where he started breaking out, lashing out. He was, schizophrenic. He had issues going on, man. Like, my brother, I like to believe my brother can get out of these issues. I like to believe that with the, I'm one of those crazy faith religious people. Sorry. Crazy faith religious people now, I guess. But I like to believe that everybody can, be healed from everything as long as you put your hands in God and, God sheds light on somebody, that person will eventually break free from that. But, yeah, my brother, eventually, comes back to the house, is dealing with the same thing. And this is where the story gets kind of ugly, and where I will tell you that it does get very personal. Hope y'all are willing to respect the fact that I'm sharing this with y'all and feel comfortable enough to share this online because, hope y'all just respect the fact that I'm sharing this because it's not something I have to share, and it's something that's very personal to me. But I think it's something that can let somebody know a lot about why I think the way I think, or what changed my perspectives on life, like in such a drastic way in such a short time. But it was the fact that my brother, one day, I don't know, I've always had intuition or gut feelings. I'll get into that later. But I remember I was coming home from school. I'd picked up my girlfriend, and we were passing by my house, so I could pick up my debit card or something. And I had gotten a call from my mother, or I'd called them, something like that. I'd called them, or I'd gone and called them before I went inside the house because I just got a weird vibe. And they told me that, hey, like, before you go inside the house, or they told me don't go inside the house. And I was like, why? And they told me what had happened, and I kind of wasn't surprised because I felt something had happened that day. I don't know why. My whole family kind of felt it. But we come to find out that my brother had laid his hands on my mother. The one person that gave him love no matter what. He had abused her. He had beat her for, I think, several hours, 2 to 3 hours. And from her story, he was going to tie her up in the restroom. I say all this not to make my brother look like a bad person, but to show people what crack does to the mind. Because my brother was insane, and he was on crack at the time. From his perspective, my mother wasn't my mother. Also, this is why I want to tell people that wars have meaning too. What set him on this path was the fact that he went to go talk to his baby mama, the mom of his son, my nephew's mother. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't think she's the best person. I think that she fed into a lot of my brother's negative habits and negativity. And what she told my brother whenever he went to go visit her is that she told him that the whole reason that because she had a miscarriage the first time they had a kid, apparently. She said the whole reason they had a miscarriage was because my mother had given her some voodoo tea that forced her to have a miscarriage. And this stuck with my brother. My brother looked at my mother differently. He looked at her with a look of anger and animosity. He had a lot of hatred towards my mother after that. This is why I say be careful with your words, and your words do have meaning and power. But yeah, he did that to my mother. Come to find out that the only reason she made it out was because my dog at the time had scratched on the door, and he thought that someone was there, and so he had gone out to check, and my mom just ran out the house. Cops got him, and he got arrested, went to prison for a couple months, and honestly, when I look at my brother, he kind of has the mentality of a 12-year-old, not in a rude way, and the way that he can learn a lot. And he has a lot of potential as a person. I believe in my brother, and I believe my brother can be a great person, especially if I try to lead him in the right direction. And, that's what I'm planning on doing soon. I was supposed to go talk to him Thursday, but I didn't make it on time, unfortunately. Hopefully, I'll be able to go sometime soon. Just go talk to him, visit him, give him some books I want him to read. I want him to read the Dalai Lama by, the Buddha's religious book. Don't know much about the Bible by Kenneth C. Davis, I think. Let's see, Food of the Gods by I forgot who else. The Nature Fix, that's a really good book. It's just a book about the psychological statistics. And there we go, statistics. Sorry, I got a bit of a stutter. Psychological statistics behind nature and how nature benefits the body and mind. It's a really crazy, eye-opening book. And just a bunch of books. I want to guide them. I'm sharing them just in case I want to share them, because I think these books shape. Also, Animal Farm is a better depiction of society by Orwell. I think it's really easy. For me, I listen to audiobooks, and it was about an hour-long book. Think so. And it was a really good book. I enjoyed it a lot. It depicts society very well. President Snowball, as I like to say. But, yeah, we support President Snowball around here, by the way. Yeah, I saw the worst of my brother while he was at his lowest, and I can't even blame him. I blame the drugs. I blame the fact that he was physically addicted to something that he had no control over. Sure, he may have kept going back to it, but hey, it's a physical addiction. Your brain's going to keep wanting to go back to it naturally. But from here, got arrested, eventually got released, came back home, and he came out of prison trying to be a better person. I was scared of him because I could see that he had a lot of anger inside his heart, but he let go of the anger. He proved to me that he wasn't an angry person by the fact that one time I had feel god awful for this, by the way. That's why I say I'm not a good person. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, and I'm not perfect. I'm very much a sinner, and I very much turned my back on my brother before. I regret ever doing that, and I wish I could take it back, but for now, I'm just going to try to fix whatever damage I've done. But last time I spoke to my brother, not the last time I spoke to my brother. Time before that, I seen my brother. My brother just lets things go. I have to appreciate that about him. Kind of just lets it go whenever somebody does something wrong to him, because especially when I do something wrong to him, because I'm his brother. And I've learned from that, because he was trying to get inside the house to get a pair of shoes because his feet hurt. That's what he told me. He said that he was walking around wearing Timbs, and he was trying to find a job at the time. If you know anything about Timbs, they're not the comfiest shoes. But yeah, he was trying to get inside the house, and I didn't feel comfortable letting him inside the house since I was the only person there. And he told me that either I could let him in, or he could wait till my dad got there so he could get inside the house. And I saw this as a threat, so I told him you seriously trying to threaten me right now? And I called the cops right there. I've always been, I guess, fearful of, because I have had interactions or altercations with my brother, but I'm not happy about how I feel during that, because I feel angry, and I don't like feeling angry. It feels like I'm looking in a mirror whenever me and my brother are fighting. It's like I'm looking at a different version of myself that's just a lot angrier. That's making me a lot angry, and I didn't like that. But I called the cops on him. He left the house, because we had a restraining order at the time. And yeah, he left the house, because we had a restraining order at the time. And yeah, he, I don't know, he just, he was acting weird. He was acting weird. And yeah, he, I don't know, he just, he was acting weird. And yeah, he left the house, because we had a restraining order at the time. And yeah, he, I don't know, he just, he was acting weird. And comes around. He can't. He didn't come around as much. Came around for Father's Day, looking for my dad, just trying to tell him Happy Father's Day, but he wasn't here. My brother didn't have a car. You know, he was homeless at the time, so he was riding a bike around. I think he was starting to get a job, starting to get settled in. Then he got arrested. Yeah. I'm not sure what he got arrested for. Right now, he's in jail right now. I think he's facing a good amount of time. But hey, I'm put my hands up in God's hands, and hopefully God can free him from this, and he can get out of there on good, behavior or something. Hopefully I can guide my brother in the right direction. But I say all this just to give y'all a perspective that, I had a really nice childhood. I had a really nice upbringing. But I also had some grayish areas in my life that kind of woke me up to reality. And despite all that, I learned that I still have to love my brother, and that he's still an important person to me, and that if I can love my brother while even though despite him, laying his hands on my mother, I can love anybody on this earth. I don't have any hatred for anybody. The people that I truly do hate are honestly sex traffickers, politicians that lie about what they're truly doing or their intentions, which are, honestly, politicians, people that just, I don't hate these people. I just would like to help these people. But people that spread negativity on this world because they have some sort of issue in their life, I think a lot of times it's because they have an issue in their life that they're a bad person. And I just like to help these people, be like, hey man, like, you don't have to be a bad person. Just work on yourself before you start criticizing others. But sweatshops. I don't like the important things in life. I like to think I cry about the right things. Animal cruelty, deforestation, anything about nature, anything about hurting nature. If I see you punch a tree or hurt a tree, then I might get physical with you because I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees, man. I should get that tattooed on me. Just a little Lorax somewhere on me. Honestly, okay, a little bit about myself, a little off topic. I want to get my left leg with a bunch of patch. I want to be, padded up. By the time I'm like 25, 30, I want to be fully covered. But I want to get my left leg with a bunch of patchwork, that pop culture reference that represent the person I am. Book, music, TV shows, just, references like that. Tyler, the Creator, TV Girl, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Just, J. Cole stuff, Snow on the Bluff, things like that. Whatever that means. But left leg, I want to get some 3D trigonometry tattoo because I think they look sick. Flower right here. Eventually I want to get my whole body. I have these right here, and then I have a little ghost right here. ¿Qué oso? Ya voy a acabar como en los próximos 10 minutos. Ok, ahorita entro. Ya sé, señor. Gracias, pa. Te quiero mucho, buenas noches. Sí, señor. Yeah, sorry, I gotta wrap this up now. It's getting late. But, yeah, I just want to be covered up in tattoos. I think they're awesome, man. I want to get angel on my back, flying into the sky, holding a staff and a sword, because that's how angels are always depicted, with 4 feathers falling off for fallen angels. And then each one of those feathers, I want to get something representing my sisters. I want to get eventually. I used to have a dog named Pato. He was a miniature pinscher, and the dog that unfortunately passed away, soon after, saving my mother's life. That was his daughter Chata. I want to get them playing tug of war on here, because that was son and daughter, and they're 2 of my favorite dogs. Then I have my cat right now, King Salviento. That's what I like to call him. His name's Salviento. I mean salt and wind in Spanish. Thought it sounded like a cool name. Got it off of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, actually. One of the Pillar Men. And I want to get him like with a crown. It's my little cat, King Salviento. But sorry, I got off topic there. But yeah, I just say all this to essentially show that it's who I am, man. I'm just trying to be a better person, trying to better myself. And I've just seen, people at their worst, or I've seen that a lot of negativity come off of people that I never want to see that off of anybody again, man. But hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. Hope I didn't, ramble on for too long, and hopefully y'all learned a thing or two about me. Hopefully this one actually gets uploaded, and hopefully I can get that MacBook over the weekend or by Monday or something. But yeah, I'll get that video uploaded with Dr. Bradshaw hopefully by Tuesday-ish. This is probably going to go up on a Saturday. Today's Friday. And hope y'all are having a lovely, amazing night. Hope y'all have a Great day, man. Peace. Love, hope, peace.